And behind me, I'm going to show you some of the nicest Verkline GR Yaris suspension parts, subframe parts that you can possibly buy. We have fluoro green, freshly powder coated Verkline tubular subframes going in Ben's GR Yaris. We've got so many instructions and quite a few bolts. Sean's actually going through all of the plates at the moment because they are all cut for different setups. We're going to go for a performance driving to start off with, so we'll just get them all in the correct location. And then let's go on to some of the nicest stuff I've ever seen. Check out these full billet and rose jointed rear hubs. They are, I just want to stroke them. They're awesome. They are all done on a 5-axis CNC machine, and they are monstrously strong. And basically, you can set this up for tarmac, gravel, snow, whatever driving conditions you're ever going to be going on. But the rest of the kit is just mind-bending how good this stuff is. Everything is anodized as well. They give you every nut and bolt. They give you all the rubber boots for all the rose joints so we can grease them all and put the boots over. The arms for the front are they're just beautiful. Everything is just amazing quality, and everything, they give you everything, just wherever you look. These are the front hubs as well, so we'll have to pull the wheel bearings out. But we're going to do a how-to video of how to, he looks happy, how to fit the Verkline subframes, hubs on Ben's car, because at the moment the car is missing all 4 corners. So all comes really well packaged in its boxes as well with the foam bags, but the whole car is missing everything. We pulled the engine and gearbox out as well. We've done some work on the engine and gearbox, and it has no subframes at all. Everything that comes off of the car, we're just gonna tidy, clean, put back on. Like, you have to use the original rear lower control arms. So we'll get the jet wash out, clean all of these up. Anything goes back on the car will be nice and clean. Need the backing plates and the wheel bearings off of the rear hubs, and the handbrake stuff, like that will come off. These are all the stock front hubs. These are all cast, so very heavy compared to the billet stuff that's over there. But wow, what a kit this is. I feel very privileged to be building this and assembling all of this stuff, because I think there's only one other car in the country that's got it. But we can certainly set this up ready for full-on spirited driving.
Let's crack on. Remove the subframes and all the components off of this car, ready for the Verkline installation of the rear subframe and the front subframe.
The first thing that you do when you're doing anything like this is you get all of the instructions out, and would you believe it, it is very well documented, fitting instructions for every single component. How cool is that? We're going to follow these instructions, but I'm really happy about how well this kit how it all comes as a package, and what you can add to it, and the fitting instructions. The quality of the components are amazing, like absolutely amazing. So Verkline, you knocked it out of the park for this car, and your components are just, yes, on point. Next thing, start building it up.
Right, let's get onto it and actually start building all of these components up. So the first thing you've actually got to do, you've got to remove everything, because you want to make sure there are no tight spots on any of the threads. We'll use an anti-seize compound on every rose joint, every thread. We start assembling the subframes, putting all the bushes in, getting everything marked up left and right, going through all the nuts and bolts, getting everything out so we know what we are working with. Once that's done, you can just piece it all together piece by piece. Now there is a lot to this kit. It's not going to take you a day to do this. This took us all week, 2 guys all week, including myself as well. So actually sometimes 3 people working on this conversion to bring it all together within that 5 days. There is a lot of work that goes into this, from removing the subframes to actually fitting all the subframes. As we work along every single component, we're taking measurements from the Verkline information and manuals. Sam, his duties were cleaning, anti-seize compound on everything, and then assembling again and checking everything with a set of calipers. Pre-assemble and pre-set all of the suspension components. Put it all together, you're going to run into problems. These are the rear swing arms, and these are the measurements that are set by Verkline, telling us how much each rose joint needs to be out for the driving experience that Verkline have requested. We went for a precision driving and performance, so more track orientated. We have got a base setting from Verkline to work from. So Sam there, all he was doing was making sure everything was all put together and just everything all floats and feels nice to adjust. And then when we finally put it on the car, we'll torque everything up and Loctite all of the nuts and bolts and torque it. But that was, they give you some measurements. We have to measure everything, and they says you can't exceed, you know, more than, what was it, 16 mil? 16 mil on each individual part. So that's the rose joint going into the left-hand thread and the left-hand thread into the yarn. Yeah. Yep. So no more than 16 mil. So that was measured, and that's like 8 mil either side. So we've got way more adjustment that it can go. Set everything all up as the very first settings. You wouldn't want to be doing all of that on the car, because you've either got to take the rose joint off the car and have the hub swinging around. It's just easier just to do it all now. But that's the first arm done. The next thing, I need to show Sam how to put the boots on the rose joints, which is going to be interesting. So it's super important to make sure that you cover all the rose joints with these boots. The reason being that rose joints are a great suspension component, but they twitch a lot around. You know, they're going through hundreds of thousands of cycles of twitching, and it does pick up road, salt and dirt, and you do not want that dirt or grit in between the rose joint ball and the outer part of the rose joint. So getting these boots on is tricky. It's a bit of hard work, but with some persistence you can get them on. Then once they are on, because this is a road car, we're going to syringe in some grease just to weatherproof them and to keep everything lubricated. Ben, you've done a great job picking the colour. So the first one that goes in is the rear subframe. Now once the rear subframe's in, you can add the diff, but before you fit the diff, you actually have to fit the roll bar in a semi-fitted position. The rear hubs are now on with their swing arms, and we're just continuing to set the car up. There's 5 different settings for that rear swing arm, and you can see there that we have put it into a performance and precision driving setting. Working together, all of us just knuckled down and got everything in the right position, nipped everything all up, and then we could do all of the final assembly. The rear hubs on first before we fitted the rear shafts, and that was just because we wanted access to everything. Once again, there is lots and lots and lots of settings on this Verkline equipment, and if you didn't have the instructions, you'd be so lost. So Verkline, thank you very much for all the instructions. It was a great help. We built up the front hubs here using the original wheel bearings and backing plates, and then you can see there was 4 spaces there that needs to go onto that lower ball joint just to make sure that the height was set correctly. Once that was done, Loctiting everything was super important. So this wouldn't be taken off of the car again. This was going to be Loctited, then it was going to be torqued up and marked so that we were 100% sure that every single bolt, nut, locking tab was set correctly, and we're just going to hold this nice and tight and tweak these up to the torque settings that were in the Verkline instructions. Guys, if you're going to do this at home, it is a big job. Make sure you've got plenty of help around and you got your torque wrench out and you're ready, because it does take some effort to get all of these wheel bearing bolts torqued correctly and marked afterwards. I didn't actually want to put any of this in the vise. I didn't want to mark anything, so just brute force, and then we could get that on. First thing, on the front subframes were the lower arms. Once the lower arms were fitted, you could fit the anti-roll bar. Then once the anti-roll bar was fitted, you could fit the steering rack. Now, there are some settings on the Verkline roll bar adjustment for height. So it has got spacers which are adjustable for height on the front anti-roll bar. So again, following the instructions, having your calipers ready, and just making sure you take your time, get everything all nipped up. We want to make sure that this car is safe and reliable, that also everything is fitted correctly. Again, front hubs, spacers, ball joints, rose joints. This is a full race car setup. It's as far as you can go with a road car, turning it into a rally car. These can stroke a lot more with the geometry of the suspension settings than what any stock standard subframe can. And it even changes some of the roll points on the subframe and also the bump steer as well that you get. It's all orientated around performance. Make sure that you torque everything. It's so vital to get everything torqued up. Now we're finishing the front subframe. Let's move on to the rear diff. What I have got here is I have a GR Yaris rear diff with its clutch packs in it, and a 1.5 way Cusco plated rear diff for this, and a Cusco extended diff cover. We're changing from the torsion style to plated on this one. Put the seals and the races in both the cases so they're ready to go, but the ring gear does not go over this diff without some heat. Hot plate number one, leave it on there for 5-10 minutes, and then it should be hot enough to sizzle with your finger. So if I just sizzles, that's it, that's hot enough for putting it onto the ring gear. 2 new bearings, 2 new seals, all new crown wheel bolts. I'm going to put the crown wheel on the diff, then I'm going to let it shrink. But the easiest way to do it is to obviously gloves, just one bolt up here, drop it in, go from underneath, put the bolt in, and then that will align that crown wheel onto here, and then I'll let it shrink down before I actually do any Loctiting or torquing. Need to get the heat out of it so it's fully shrinked. So my new crown wheel bolts are all in, high temperature, high strength Loctite, and these need to be done in 3 stages up to 73 foot-pounds. And once that's done, I've dropped the bearings on. I'm just going to oil the bearings, and then I can drop the whole lot in the case, silicone it on, and bolt it all back together again.
Hard to miss.
Yeah.
They stand out.
You'd definitely be able to see that from behind the car, wouldn't you? Like, that is going to stick out like a sore thumb. But that is like the greenest green I've ever seen.
Definitely. Plenty of places on the dyno to strap down.
Yeah, there is actually. I didn't think of that. We'll need to strap this again. So it's cool. It is really cool. But this now in with all its billet mounts and its billet hubs. Got the lower control arms to put in. Now the diffs in, shafts in, springs in. What else is there?
So once the back of the car's done, as you said there, we can then put the prop back in.
Engine's back in now, yeah, and then obviously front subframe. But yeah, it's all going back together now. So engine's back in it because we had an issue with the clutch, and that's now sorted. Front hubs, all billet hubs. Had to machine the brake caliper brackets down a little bit to get them to fit in. They're Loctite and torqued, and then front subframe all built up, done, ready to go back in the car, and then alignment and geo. But yeah, what fun it's been. It's been lots of fun doing this. But all of this Verkline stuff is amazing. So if you've got loads of money to spend and you want a load of billet parts, it is about the best you're ever going to get. It is awesome stuff. Now the front subframe is all in the car, the engine is supported, and all the subframe bolts are now done up into the chassis of the car. All the lower mounts are done. We'll just give everything a wipe over once it is all completed. We put some tape here and there, just protect it, make sure that we didn't scratch anything as it was all going together. This is the lower gearbox mount just being done now, and then we will torque and mark it afterwards. This kit is just so full on. everything about it is full on. It's an amazing piece of engineering. So Verkline, yeah, you've done a really amazing job at re-engineering all of this for the GR Yaris, and I have to admit the end results are quite special. The whole car feels amazing to drive, everything fitted. There was a few little areas where we could do some improvement, just some clearance areas, especially with the X-shift gearbox. Now this is the underside of the car once it's fully assembled, all wiped over, and you can see the subframes are all completed with its now new exhaust, just to try and quieten it down for Ben's track days that he's going to be doing.
We normally check them around 4 clicks.
4 clicks?
That's 4 clicks.
Okay, cool.
So we'll check it. Tensions on the back when the handbrake's off. Feels.
I don't know what to say. Right, Sean, let's give our viewers a little bit more detail about how this Verkline install went. Now, I know it's been 2 guys, 5 days
Yeah.
to do it, right? What's the hardest thing about it?
Was a lot of instructions to get your head round.
There is. You'll see in the video there was what, 13 books,
Something
maybe
like that.
14 books of information. So Verkline, thank you very much for giving us all that information, because without it, you're absolutely screwed.
Yeah.
There's massive amounts of adjustment on this kit, isn't there? Like absolutely huge.
Yeah.
But Ben has gone all out, billet hubs, you know, full tubular subframes, pretty much ticked every box on the Verkline website and bought everything for this car. Now, we did pull the engine and gearbox back out of this car because we blew the clutch up, and that is because it's just got so much damn power. And now we've gone solid discs in the clutch. Yes, it might be a bit more jerky in traffic, but this is no longer really a street car. It's pretty much as race car as you can go without being a real race car, right?
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Yeah, I'd say that.
And then syringed grease in all the rose joints, and that is to try and give this kit some life. Rose joints in a road car don't normally last very long, but we made sure that this should last as long as possible. What other things about this kit?
Well, this car's got some aftermarket parts like AP Racing calipers.
Yes.
So
they didn't fit.
They didn't fit.
Machined up again, over onto the CNC machine, machined up what needs to come off of them and modified, and then back onto the hub. What was the easiest thing? What was the easiest thing about this?
It's lighter than stock parts.
It
so
is,
actually handling it, getting it into place, doing a dry run, offering it up was easier. Was quite straightforward with a couple of you because it's lighter than stock.
Are you impressed with the kit?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm impressed with the kit as well. I think it is a really nice piece of equipment. So the end result in this car, I'm really looking forward to going out in it. I want to feel what it feels like to have all of this Verkline rose jointed, full rally kind of spec suspension on this car. Sean's going to come out with me as well because he's put a lot of work into this car. I say 2 guys, 5 days to fit the subframes, plus we done engine out, gearbox out, clutch change, a few little tweaks here and there as well with this car. I'm looking forward to going out of it. Sean, you looking forward to going out of it?
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, we're gonna do another video of us out on the car as well, and I'll give you my feedback, how I think the car handles. But we need to get down on the ground and then get it on the Geo machine, because that's the most important thing. We've got to actually put some settings in this car, and I have a feeling that's gonna take all day. Let's go to the next room.